Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Away we go. Happy holidays. Welcome to the deck tech for Nethroi, or Biollante. Pick your name, I can't read that anyway. I won my first Legacy tournament with a bad rendition of a 99 or 98 World Championship deck that ran off of Survival of the Fittest and Recurring Nightmare. However, Recurring Nightmare is banned in Commander. So just like then, I've had to supplement with Living Death, which does a pretty good job. Recurring Nightmare does not take nearly as much setup for it to be effective. And you can easily just take two creatures, never overcommit to the board or overcommit to the graveyard, and get tons and tons of value. Especially with newer cards like Luris, Eternal Witness, things of that nature. This deck used to be anafensa, probably a year ago now, but once Biollante came out, I quickly switched to it. I definitely prefer the mid-game engine, post-sweeper, someone tries to catch up. I can easily just use my commander at that point in time to recur all of my lost advantage. So what kind of deck is this, you may ask yourself? Well, I mean, pretty obviously, obvious things are obvious. Obviously, kind of goes without saying. It's got Reanimation stapled onto the commander, therefore it's a Reanimator deck. Simple. Also, it harkens to most of the value engines, or just general good stuff. If you know the old things, then it's basically the rock. Lots of Pernicious Deed antics. If I could fit a Spirit Monger in here, I definitely would. It just doesn't go with the other themes. It doesn't play nice with other things. It doesn't have any amazing synergy. And the underlying theme of this entire deck is its interchangeability, its resilience. It's kind of pretty redundant. And it does a lot of the same things in many different ways and different facets. In preparing to make this deck tech, I watched many other techs from many other people on YouTube, all about Nethroi and Biollante, and I liked a lot of their tactics, but they all kind of overcommitted to one way or the other, and I prefer my ways better. I prefer each of my cards kind of stand on their own, have their own legs, and not necessarily need one big huzzah to like win the game. I want everything to have incremental value, incremental advantage, and just kind of roll over people. Also, this being a green deck in Commander, you'd expect there to be a lot of ramp. Not much ramp here to be seen whatsoever. I even play the no-nos. I play a couple of simple one-drop dorks versus any two-mana rocks. Easy reason for that is I want Biollante to have targets, and it's easier for me to get into my three-drop zone, and I can use things like Birthing Pod and other things for more advantage, as well as using the Great Hinge, constant engine, constant source. Again, this entire deck is built around having multiple engines, and you really can't stop any one thing. You can't really hedge and just kill Graveyard. You can't really hedge and just have sweepers. It kind of hits multiple angles of attack. A lot of those other deck techers on YouTube have all kind of made the deck synergistically revolved, and it necessarily needs Biollante to come in and save the day. I really never really play him until I get swept and I have to recover. Then maybe I'll play him. But on the whole, I don't use him as part of my game plan until, turn 5, 6, 7, 10. If you watched Command Zone, most games don't go past turn 10, turn 11. This deck, I really try and focus on more of a grindy game. I have a couple of combos and synergies that can end the game very quickly, but I don't lean on those. I just kind of use this deck to force everyone else to play fair when I'm not really intending to eventually. And I hate stuttering. I don't want to just be cold to Winter Orb, Torpor Orb, Vorinclex, some kind of Ugin, Exile Everything Sweeper, or decks that lean heavily on Grave Hate, such as Grafdigger's Cage, Rest in Peace, things of that nature. And also, of course, oldie but goldie, Bajukabog, which of course we run to use upon our enemies, but that we don't want it to be used against us. Or at least be brutal against us, as it could be. In Commander, there is anything and everything possible. I must cast the widest net possible. I heavily lean on effects that use Exile, Sacrifice, Tuck, or just straight destroy. As for my removal, like I Path to Exile and Swords of Plowshares, of course, everyone has to play those if you have white. It exiles the creature. Essence Trophy can kill anything for the least mana, instant speed, so again, just definitely useful for being, again, in any scenario. Unexpectedly Absent, All-Star. 2 mana, instant, skip the X. Put target non-land permanent into its owner's library just beneath the top X cards of that library. If someone is using a tutor effect or someone using a fetch land, you can easily tuck their best card in play into the top of their deck. Now you've destroyed a land, or you've skipped their tutor effect just to get rid of that card, and you can deal with it in a turn or two. And if it's worth them, they need that tutored card they're going for, and you just destroyed something without, you know, spending too much mana on it. Also, some of the best things in here, like instant speed, Court of Calling, Finale of Devastation, Green Sun Zeniths are just amazing green tutors. A lot of my creatures come into play and have amazing effects. So that's as good as having removal on a stick. But again, you don't want to be just called a Torpor Orb, or things that prevent your creatures from having abilities as they come in and go out of play. Hushbringer as well. So again, you need to have other ways to interact with pieces on the board. Council's Judgment, of course, Legacy All-Star. I get to vote and get rid of a permanent. Well, everyone's to vote, but I'm pretty sure if there's an Eldrazi on play, everyone's going to choose Eldrazi. Again, helps exiling permanents. As far as some of our other sweepers, Toxic Deluge, I don't mind paying a couple of life and sweeping the entire board. It gets around targeting effects, gets around protection effects, gets around indestructibility. Works really well. Damnation, again, can't really do much better than just plain Damnation. Living Death, also a phenomenal sweeper. Makes everyone set aside their permanents, set aside their creatures versus destroying them, so it gets around a lot of the effects that way as well. One thing that should always be in any deck that can harness its power is Merciless Eviction. It can exile, again, all artifacts, or all creatures, or all enchantments, or all planeswalkers. So whatever I have in the board the most of, I'm going to keep those and kill everything that's bothering me. If I have a sacrifice available, then I'm going to sacrifice all of my permanents of that specific type, and then wipe them out from the board, and then reanimate them, probably with Nethroi or something else. Eerie Ultimatum. Return any number of permanent cards with different names from your graveyard to the battlefield. As you can tell, I'm not reading off of the card, I'm reading off of my laptop because I can't speak that language nor read it. This works in many, many ways. One of the ways I get to use Altar of Dementia and sack them all to actually mill my own deck and then float the mana and bring everything back from my graveyard into play, crushing pretty much anyone that's opposing that. And it also pulls in other infinite combos you can use for infinite life, infinite mill everyone else, while exiling other things that are pertinent to them. All right, we're going to clean up and we're going to separate out parts of the combo. Sunny boy, sunny boy. So here we go. Here we go. Interchangeability. One of our biggest combos, kind of linchpins on things like Vizier of Remedies. If one or more -1/-1 counters we put on a creature you control, put that many -1/-1 counters on it -1 instead. So if anything puts a singular -1/-1, then it negates that entirely, which is phenomenal for this deck. Like Kitchen Finks is great. Whenever it dies, it has Persist. It comes back into play with a -1/-1 counter. So, with Vizier of Remedies in play, if Kitchen Finks would die, it comes back on with a -1/-1, and then that's negated by that, so it doesn't have it, so that way I can kill it repeatedly and get infinite cycle that way by sack effects. Our only two major sack effects in the deck are Altar of Dementia, which helps me mill myself or others to just for the win if they don't have any way to recur their graveyard, or Yawgmoth Transposition to again gain infinite life, and put -1/-1 counters on other people's permanents, so using it as a pseudo sweeper to just negative everyone's board out. Or I can put that on my own creatures, which again are going to be negated by Vizier. So again, either way, if they don't have anything in play, use it on myself. Also with Kitchen Finks, if I don't have Vizier in play, I can use Mothra. Mothra says, whenever a creature you control without flying dies, return to the battlefield under its own control with a flying counter. So I can kind of use this with Mothra and choose the stacked triggers if I wanted to come back into play with a flying counter or with a -1/-1. So with these two cards, I can then choose -1/-1 counter, comes back in. With that, then when it dies that time, I can choose to have it come back into play with a flying counter, and then vice versa, flip those, interchangeable with Vizier. I try and have multiple effects that are redundant over multiple casting costs, so when I use things like Birthing Pod or a tutor effect, I always have something up the chain that I can tutor for to find other answers, so I can't really be cut out or turned off of one of my synergies. One of the weakest combos in the deck is Devoted Druid and Duskwatch Recruiter, but again, for 6 mana, very clean, very simple, and if I could cut anything out of the deck, it would be Duskwatch and Devoted Druid. Infinite Mana is pretty boring. Sometimes it happens, I don't have any way in the deck to give this creature haste, but it has to revolve an entire turn sequence, and that rarely ever happens once they know what's happening. Incremental value, Duskwatch Recruiter, I don't mind having him in the deck because I can just float extra mana and search for extra creatures. A lot of the deck revolves on creatures, but you know, just if you have extra mana, why not use it for something? But easy would cut these for things like Fiend Artisan, another tutor effect, or Restoration Angel. I miss her. Life from the Loam, I need in this deck. I miss it so much. It's one of my favorite cards in Legacy. Quite a few lands. We'll get into those in a minute. But Life from the Loam is just phenomenal. Other cards, like the Great Hinge, also combo with Kitchen Finks as an interchangeable answer for things. This book costs X less to cast, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. So with just Kitchen Finks in play, if it doesn't have a -1/-1 on it, then it's going to be a 3 power. So this goes from 9 to costing 6. Definitely very usable. Normally, I'm not paying much more than 4 mana for this card. I can tap it for adding 2 green mana and gaining 2 life. Again, not terrible. It's a fine rock, but you don't really care for that. Bottom part of the text is whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on it and draw a card. So with the Great Hinge and Kitchen Finks, whenever I have a sack up nut, I can get it back into play. It negates the -1/-1, and I get to cantrip off of it repeatedly, drawing my deck, finding other answers, and then just winning pretty much on the spot once that can happen. Plus gaining the infinite life, or the insurmountable amount of life from Kitchen Finks. Not infinite because I'm not going to be able to draw my entire library. Some obvious exclusions of this deck, with Yawgmoth Ren Physician, you want to look for Undying creatures, not Persist creatures, kind of the opposite. Undying creatures, some of the best ones are Young Wolf, 1 green mana for a 1/1 when it dies, comes back into play with a +1/+1 counter. So that way you just sacrifice it repeatedly with a -1/-1 put onto it, and you have just infinite sack outlets from that, and draw cards. The most common one is Geralf's Messenger, 3 black mana for I believe a 3/2 with Undying. When it dies, it comes back into play with a +1/+1 counter on it, and an opponent loses 2 life. Kind of the opposite of Kitchen Finks, so I can use Geralf's Messenger and Young Wolf in sequence with Yawgmoth and make someone lose infinite life while drawing cards, yay win. This is my deck, I don't want to do that. I'd rather have a little more fun, have it be more of a grindy game. But again, I have a list of cards down below and on the deck building app that I use to give everyone all the other ideas, all the other instances, to be able to use this for more combos and just build it yourself. Vizier of Remedies. I love this card. It is not. I'm not using Malira Sylvan Outcast because that says no -1/-1 counters to be placed on a creature versus -1/-1 and then negating that one. So I want them to be able to be placed on my creatures, but I just don't want them to stay there. A little bit of the difference. Other things that we can use are Lesser Masticore. Lesser Masticore. 2 mana artifact, comes into play if you discard a card. It's a 2/2, also with Persist. It's also a pretty good mana sink. You pay 4 mana to ping something. Again, if I have infinite mana or just absorb an amount of mana, or something that has a small toughness, you can just use it to wipe them out as well. But again, 2 mana, Persist, 3 mana, Persist, up the chain, redundancy, always good to have. I actually run the Lesser Masticore and Puppeteer Clique in my 2 mana Marin deck, but it's a budget deck. I'll be doing one of the deck techs very soon. It's under $100 for an entire deck. A lot of fun. A lot of the more gimmicky, combo-y things I could put in there because it's cheaper and much more centered around the commander, which is Marin. Machias the Unhallowed. It runs Machias the Unhallowed with Protean Hulk, also some of the Yawgmoth engines. Very egregious. Lots of infinite combos out of nowhere. Sync the sound. All right, on to number 2, a lot of our reanimation synergies. So here we have my favorite card, almost of all time, Sun Titan, good old Sunny Boy. He's the top of our curve. We only have 2 creatures in the entire deck that actually cost 6 mana. Sunny Boy and Bane of Progress. Bane of Progress, again, a tutorable, chainable creature that says, when Bane of Progress enters the battlefield, destroy all artifacts and enchantments. Put a 1/1 counter on Bane of Progress for each of that, it doesn't matter. Destroy all artifacts and all enchantments. A lot of decks synergize and lean heavily on mana rocks over mana dorks. I'm going to punish them for that. All the other artifact decks that are just laden with pieces of tech that they need or hate cards against me, grave hate, things like that. I forgot the name of them. No one's talking to you, Google. Grafdigger's Cage. Not a good card. Anyway. So, Sun Titan. Best card in the entire deck. My opinion. That's all that matters. 6 mana. Vigilance. 6/6. Whenever a Sunny Boy enters the battlefield or attacks, I get a permanent with 3 mana or less from my graveyard into play. Also can use lands, fetch lands. Great when I use things like Field of the Dead, Dark Depth, Thespian Stage, making copies, tons of tokens. Again, hard to sweep that out. Since lands are sacred in Commander, I tend to use things that break lands, because if you're not going to touch them, I'm going to use that. Land Distraction. Land Destruction needs to happen more often. Big fan of Land Destruction. I do it in most of my other decks. So Sunny Boy brings back a lot of important things in our deck. A lot of my deck is I think my mana curve for this deck is 2.7, 2.6. I have it on the website listed. So things that cost 3 that are amazing and recurable. Liana the Veil. Come in, sacrifice a creature, make everyone discard a card. Helps in many, many situations. Pernicious Deed, recurable sweeper, kill everything in play. Pay X mana, sacrifice Pernicious Deed, destroy each artifact, creature, and enchantment, convert mana cost X or less. So again, Sun Titan, Deed, sweep everything 5 or less, most of the board. Get my lands back, make more tokens, make another 20/20 indestructible, all good things. Also, it comes back with Seal of Primordium, sacrifice Seal of Primordium, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Again, this gets around Torpor Orb and other things that stop my creatures from having come into play and leave play abilities. So this is a great day to chain that back together. Also, he'll bring back Lurrus, and Lurrus can bring back Seal of Primordium. Also, can bring back Eternal Witness, which can bring back Lurrus, which can bring back Seal of Primordium. Lots of fun there. Also, instances of Animate Dead, stealing somebody else's creature, or using Animate Dead to bring back Sun Titan, or using Lurrus to bring back Animate Dead, to bring back Sun Titan, to bring back Eternal Witness, to bring back, I don't know, Living Death, Eerie Ultimatum, pick a thing. Lots of cyclic interactions here that work really, really well. Vampire Hexmage, again, great for Dark Depths if you want to make it 20/20 indestructible. If no one's playing white, they're all in that green game, no real good way to exile something. 20/20 flying indestructible can pretty much end the game out of nowhere. Or use it to kill planeswalkers, Ugins, other things that have counters added to them other than planeswalkers. There are things, can't remember them. Again, Qasali Pridemate, again, 2/2 with Exalted, pay 1, sacrifice it, disenchant something. So again, 2 mana on a stick, disenchant something, use Lurrus, use Witness, use Find Broker, use Sun Titan, bring it back. Recurable Disruption, works really well. One of the best filters and tutors in the deck, in all of Magic. Survival of the Fittest, pay a 2 mana enchantment, pay a green mana, discard a creature card, go through your deck for any other creature card, put it in your hand. So again, you can fill your graveyard if you're about to do an Eerie Ultimatum or a Living Death, if you want to do that big spam, boom, gotcha win moment. Or if you're about to use your commander, you got to get your, my Nethroi on board the next turn. At the end of the previous player's turn, before I untap, 2 or 3 mana left over, get your big hitters back, Sun Titan, Eternal Witness, Lurrus, untap, bring back Nethroi, get your 10 creatures in play, your 10 power and creatures in play. And then with that, 6, 7, 8, 9, couple of birds, 0 power creatures. Those are all going to trigger and get you other advantage, pulling other things from your graveyard to recast other things. Really phenomenal, lot of synergy, hard to sweep it out of existence. As far as lands as well, again, I use Remnant Excavator, Strip Mine, Wasteland, because I want to be the only guy with a Gaia's Cradle in play. Nobody else deserves it. Also, Bojuka Bog, exile someone's graveyard if they're doing the same thing that I'm doing. So I can Bojuka Bog them, exile their graveyard, and then Wasteland or Strip Mine my own to get it back in play with Ram and Tap. So I can keep cyclically doing that and get everybody else's graveyard out of the board before I Living Death. Again, everything needs to play together nicely. Sorin Vengeful, not really played too often that I've seen. If it's my turn, my creatures and planeswalkers have lifelink. That's really good. If there's any other kind of aggressive deck, just get out of the range. They can't catch you if you just attack into them, sack everything, make bad attacks, and then just reanimate everything from the graveyard. Really hard to disrupt that. And then his minus X ability, he comes in with 4 loyalty and his minus X. Return target creature card with converted mana cost of X or less from your graveyard to play. And now it's also in a vampire. Vampires are relevant, but again, I can play him, -3 him, bring back Lurrus. Lurrus can come in and trigger Seal of Primordium or Animate Dead. Animate Dead can bring up my Sun Titan. And again, it just chains around the table, works really well, and he stays in play. And again, lifelink isn't something to scoff at. Straight up reanimation spells, reanimate. Can take anybody's creature, so if somebody else has destroyed something that's valuable, I'll just take yours. Finale of Devastation, get anything out of my deck or out of my graveyard. Love that text. So phenomenal. What else we got? Find Broker, again, just up the chain from Eternal Witness. 3 mana and 4 mana, so if I'm using Birthing Pod, I can get the next thing in line. Sack Eternal Witness, get Find Broker, get back Witness, and just, again, continue the shenanigans. Secure a Tri-Builder, one of the only pieces of true ramp in the deck that get me more lands in play. I only have 5 basics in the deck. These be they. 2 Swamp, 2 Forest, and 1 Plains. Get those over there. What else we got on this table? Unburial Rites. You noticed that one. Also, very underplayed. I love it in this deck as having flashback. Because if I'm milling myself with Altar of Dementia, after I mill my entire deck, I need to get one thing into play to start this entire chain reaction. Flashback. Flashback one of my creatures in play, and then it just chains off, and I get to win, probably. What else do we have on the table? Oh yeah, Aura Shards. Aura Shards is hiding off in the corner. It's also on the last screen as well, I believe, or the next screen. I don't know how this is going to be cut up. Sunny Boy can bring back Aura Shards because that's normally a must get rid off the table. And with Aura Shards in play and 25 creatures in the deck, you're gonna have lots of instances to be able to just cast creatures and just incrementally kill everybody else's ramp or whatever their hate is against you. So they must get rid of that. And then having a Sun Titan, Eternal Witness, Fine Broken, things like that to get it out of the graveyard works really well. Very rarely does anyone ever exile an enchantment. Normally it's just destroy. Even here, I have lots of destroy mechanics for artifacts and enchantments and not exiling them. So it's easy to be able to get that back really easily, really often. I don't know if I hit on this before, but Vampire Hexmage is also phenomenal other than killing planeswalkers and getting counters off of things. For Dark Depths, I'm not sure if you noted this interaction, very played heavily in Legacy. I think it's Turbo Depths. I played it back in Maverick days and during the Rock type stuff like that. Hexmage, 2 black mana for a 2/1 first strike. Sacrifice Vampire Hexmage, remove all counters from target permanent. Sounds pretty useless. Legendary Snowland, Dark Depths. It enters the battlefield with 10 ice counters on it. Pay 3 mana, remove an ice counter. We're not doing it that way. When Dark Depths has no ice counters on it, sacrifice it. If you do, create Marriott Liege, a legendary 2020 black avatar token with flying and indestructibility. So, Dark Depths is in play, Vampire Hexmage is in play, sacrifice, remove all ice counters. It has no ice counters. You get a 2020 legendary flying indestructible creature. Poof. And again, if you play this for free, 2 mana, that's a pretty good deal. And also, it's in your graveyard, not exiled or removed. I get to cast it later with Ram and Tap and do it again probably if you get rid of my 2020 the first time. Other issues without Hexmage, we can use Thespian Sage. So he's in play with his 10 ice counters. Thespian Sage says pay 2 mana, tap it. It becomes a copy of target land, except it has this ability, which is irrelevant. So they're both in play, 10 ice counters, nothing. 2 mana, tap, becomes a copy. They're both legendary. This one dies. Graveyard. This one is now a copy of Dark Depths, but it came into play already, so it does not get those inherent 10 ice counters. So it's now a copy of Dark Depths with no ice counters, so it immediately flips or sacrifices and becomes a 2020 Marriott Liege token. So again, 2 lands, no mana cost, lands are sacred, very safe combo, 2020 indestructible, amazing to have in play. Moving on. So, on to Tutors. One of the very important, unlock, come on. Thank you, Mac-in-1. You're new. So, on to Tutors. Again, the linchpin of any deck is having good tutors, good accessibility. This is a deck of 100 card singleton, so I want to have as many redundant pieces of ways to find things as possible. So, these are the cheapest and probably the best tutors in Magic the Gathering. Again, black, Vampiric Tutor. Ooh, Path to Exile, you are not a tutor. Whoop. So, black, Vampiric Tutor and Imperial Seal. Very, very good. 1 mana, instant speed, sorcery speed, get any card you want, pay a couple of life. In Commander, 40 life, easy to pay that 2 life. Put that card on top of your library. Again, at instant speed, these 3, any card you want, top of your deck, pay 2 life. This card, any creature you want, top of your deck. This one, any enchantment or artifact, top of your deck. 1 mana instant, so basically turn 1, opening land. If you have a good mana base, I'll show you that in a minute. You can tutor out whatever you want, put it on top of your deck, untap, and just like burn through the game very easily. 1 mana instant, the best land search card in the game. Crop rotation, 1 green mana. Sacrifice a land, search deck for any library. Search your library for any land you want, put it in play. Normally you're going things for like Gaia's Cradle, or one of the 2020 Destructibles, or something silly if you're ready to attack for some damage. Vault of the Archangel. We'll get to that a little bit later as well. Not really relevant unless you're going to be aggressive, which happens on occasion. But again, tutoring for lands, super easy. Source of Plowshares, why'd you get there too? Shh, we'll see you in a minute. Again, notably, Demonic Tutor. Everyone plays Demonic Tutor. It's now much more accessible. Thank you for the reprints. We need some more reprints on some of these other cards. They're getting way too expensive. That's why I use Proxies. Again, for $2, I'm very happy with these cards. Very playable. As long as you talk to your friends about it. Again, give everybody the same opportunity. No Commander deck should cost more than $200. Be as strong as you want. Have fun. But again, off that soapbox. 1 mana tutors, very cool. 2 mana tutor, get any card you want, put it right in your hand. Of course it's amazing. Green Sun Zenith, also normally a 1-mana tutor. It's also one of my ramp spells if you're going to be going for Dryad Arbor. Dryad Arbor is amazing. It's a land, forest, creature. 0 mana. So I can pay 1 green mana, X is 0. This is a 0 mana creature, so 1 green. This comes into play, this shuffles back into my deck to be used again later. Very nice. Good ramp, or just again, a tutor for any of my other things. I have a myriad of removal that can come into play or be sacrificed to kill stuff. 3 specific things that do get me a creature directly into play, other than Birthing Pod, because that's explicitly for going up the chain, so I need a specific creature in play that'll chain up to the proper thing that I need. But again, I try to be as redundant as possible through the mana curve, that way that is not a hindrance. Survival of the Fittest, we're going over that one. Amazing tutor. Again, Nut of the Reliquary, again, 3 mana, 2/2, +1/+1 for each land card in my graveyard. Again, it doesn't need to be a beater, sometimes it is. I can tap it, sacrifice a forest or a plains with my deck for any other land I want, put it in play. So again, use it, Search of Gaia's Cradle, lots of creatures, lots of mana. Or just use it for fetch lands to make, where'd we go? You can use it to sacrifice your lands, for fetch lands, for Field of the Dead, and make Field of the Dead pretty busted to incorporate Nut of the Reliquary. Again, 6 or 7 2/2 tokens. People can't really fight that every turn. They can't keep sweeping the board against you. And remember, lands are sacred. You can't kill them. So these are the tutors. They make the deck very, very good. If I need to find my... If I need to find my Kitchen Finks in a 100-card deck, should be pretty hard. I'm sorry, 99, minus the commander, 99-card deck. I need to find this one card. Now I have exactly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oops. I can count, I swear. 1, 2, 3, 4, skip. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 himself, of course. 10 ways, Birthing Pod, kind of an 11th. But you have a lot of ways to find that card out of your deck and put it in play and start comboing off or whatever you want to do. On to the next. How are we centered? Not bad. All right, removal. Removal. I already covered these here on the bottom, on the previous screen. Again, Living Death. Set aside all creatures in all graveyards, then put each creature that's in play into its owner's graveyard, then put each creature card that was set aside this way into play under its owner's control. So again, sweeps the board, eliminates things that are indestructible, things like that, and then reanimates all the things out of all the graveyards. We have ways to get rid of their graveyards, and we should be able to put more things in there when we need to, so we should be able to get advantage from that. Sorin, Planeswalker, reanimates a creature. Also, his +1 does a damage to a player or planeswalker, not removal, but it does a damage to a thing. Maybe it's removal. Leon of the Veil makes anyone discard a card, or -2 target player sacrifices a creature. Again, sacrifice effects I prefer definitely over destroy effects, even though if you have a go-wise strategy like tokens, sacrificing isn't very useful. But again, I like it. Eldrazi scare me more than tokens. Pernicious Deed, pay X, sacrifice, destroy all permanents. Other than planes, I'm sorry, destroy each artifact, creature, and enchantment with remaining cost extra less. Because everything but planeswalkers, not too bad. Reanimatable, I reuse it. It's good stuff. Aura shards, artifacts, enchantments, good. Artifacts, enchantments, good. Artifacts, enchantments, good. So we've killed those things. Now the things that you haven't really seen discussed about. Merciless Eviction, again, covered that earlier. 6 mana, exile all artifacts, all creatures, all enchantments, or all planeswalkers. Pick one, kill the thing that's bothering you. Damnation, one of the great sweepers of the game. Deluge, pay some life, -/ to everything. Really good. Cataclysmic Gearhawk. I've never had this played against me. If you play it, good for you. 5 mana for a 4/5 artifact creature construct. Vigilance doesn't matter. When Gearhawk enters the battlefield, each player chooses an artifact, a creature, an enchantment, and a planeswalker from the non-land permanents they control. Sacrifice the rest. So making them sacrifice them, great things. I won't normally keep that either. Normally I'm going to be keeping Sunny Boy or one of my other little pesty creatures because I can normally cast this, sweep most of the board from most of the permanents, and then reanimate a specific piece. Like Sun Titan, I can reanimate my Nethroi, or I can get things back to play with Luris. Murderous Rider, one of the newer inclusions. Again, having an instant and or a dude on the stick is very good. Doesn't come into play, but again, if you're a creature, works really well. And having him shuffle into the bottom is really nice as well. Bone Shredder. 3 mana, Echo. Echo doesn't matter, just a 3 mana card. I have lots of 2-drops, so it's very easy for me to tutor or pod into a 3-drop creature. Enters the battlefield, destroys a non-black, non-artifact creature. Hindrance, restrictions, sure, but he's not my only thing. I like him. Shriek Maw, I leave him in my 2 mana slot. I never really play him for 5 mana. I play him for 2. Destroy target non-effect non-black creature comes into play. So yeah, 2 mana, kill spell, goes to the graveyard, good things. Withered Wretch, 2 mana, 2/2, pay 1 generic mana, remove target card in a graveyard from the game. I get rid of using this to kill a lot of people's graveyards before we Living Death. It's going to help us a lot to maintain our advantage and not give them anything back from those spells. I could be using Scavenging Ooze. I play that arena all the time. Scavenging Ooze is phenomenal. I love it. But the mana restriction of using only green mana to exile things is rough. Plus and plus counters are really, really nice. But having like a 10/10 generic vanilla creature doesn't really win you the game. So being able to use generic mana is easier to just use all of my floated mana from different colors of mana and then just sweep all of their graveyards instantly. Also, Withered Wretch isn't scary. People know what Scavenging Ooze does. Lots of scary words. It gets bigger. It scares the Timmies. So I'd rather not have that. This is much more endearing to me anyway. All right, everybody. Back to... Here are the cards you really haven't seen other than Mana Base. Mana Base is coming soon. What you haven't seen so far, Skull Clamp. Everyone knows Skull Clamp. 1 mana equipment, 1 mana to equip. When the equipped creature dies, you get to draw 2 cards. And it gives the creature it's equipped to +1, -1. If you have any kind of X1 creature, you pay 1 mana, equip it, the X1 dies, then you get to draw 2 cards. Good engine, you can use it on top of sac effects like Alter Dementia or Yawgmoth. If you're in a position to be able to like create extra advantage as well. Also, things are going to die, you can equip them and then pot them away. Again, drawing multiple cards is really, really fun. 7 Library, super awesome. Used to buy these from Legends back in the day for like $0.25 a piece. They were unplayable in Legacy, but because you get 20 more life in Commander, much more usable. So, normally on turn 2, I'll play Sylvan Library, and turn 3, 4, and 5, I'm going to draw 3 cards every turn, not look back. 8 life, take it. 8 life, take it. And the advantage is just too much, it's just insurmountable to come back from. And then Bobby, good old Bob here, Dark Confidant. Again, same kind of things, interchangeable. 2 mana, 2/1. Begin my upkeep, flip the top card of my deck. Before I have my draw phase, upkeep. Flip the top card. I pay life equal to its casting cost. If it's a land, I pay 0. If it's Kitchen Finks, I pay 3. Whoop, Finks. But again, draw extra card per turn. Very nice, very easy. People always waste removal on them as well, so leaves me open for other things later in the game. Voice of Resurgence, again, pretty interchangeable, kind of weak, not really synergistic with most of the deck, but lots of blue decks in my area, so having things that make lots of tokens, if they play things on my turn, a lot of fun. And then whenever they sweep the board, I get to have a token left after, because if you sweep the entire board and I get my token from him being dead, I get to then add my Nethroi to him from the command zone, and I get 10 power back, and you saw all the swings and the synergies with that. So again, having a token left over after a sweeper is great. Garruk, I like him. One of the first Planeswalkers, I think he's the first round of Planeswalkers that came out. I was at the tour release when they actually had Garruk come out. Broke my mind. 4 mana, comes with 3 loyalty, +1, untap 2 target lands. And again, when you're playing with things like Stupid Gaia's Cradle, and you make 3 or 4 mana, and then it untaps, I mean, 4 more mana? Like, who's going to turn that down? Very good. Also, with color fixing, things like that. The -1 gives you a 3/3 token. It's fine. Blocks him. Again, after a sweeper, I get to -1 him, make a 3/3, and then mutate onto him. Again, interchangeability. His -4 is amazing. So again, +1, untap some lands. On the following turn, I can give my entire team +3/+3 and trample. That's really good when I'm using things like, oh, not Thespian Stage. Where'd we go? There we go. +1, untap some lands. On my next turn, I can -4, give all my creatures +3/+3 and trample, known as Overrun, to my Field of the Dead tokens. 4 or 5 tokens. Now they're all 5/5s with trample. Just end the game out of nowhere. A Group Primal Hunter. Probably one of the weaker cards in my deck. I like him a lot. One of my favorites. Play them in Standard a lot with Swag, Tusk, and Resto. Also, I missed them. Back when the deck was anafensa, I ran Resto and Swag Tusk, but they didn't make the cut for this iteration. 5 mana for 3 loyalty, +1, make a 3/3 beast. Again, mutate's good. -3, draw a card equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. Normally that's for Sunny Boy or my Biollante. You just draw 5-6 cards, and then normally he has to stay in play. On an empty board, no one has hands, end of the game, everyone's kind of exhausted the resources. I can cast him, +1 him, make a 3/3. On the following turn, draw 3 extra cards at least. And then, again, progressing the game a bit quicker normally than most people can recover. So again, let's put that up there. And now some of the generic ramp. Deathrite Shaman, Banded Legacy, for good reason. Phenomenal. Hates other graveyards, exiles creatures, gains life, makes mana, shoots people for 2. Very useful. Lots of fetch lands right now in the area. Of course, it's just free mana. Very versatile. Wild Growth and Utopia's Promise and 2 Wild Growths. 1 mana ramp, and because no one kills lands, they're sacred. I get free ramp. It's pretty much ubiquitous throughout the game. Sweep all you want. I get to keep my my enchantments. Soul Ring has to be. It used to be a Llanowar Elf, and I realized I didn't even have a Soul Ring in my deck, so I pulled out my Llanowar Elf for the Soul Ring. I prefer Elbow Stay Finehorn much more. Birds of Paradise, again, it's been here since, Alpha, Beta. You have to have it. It's green. You play Birds of Paradise. Absence Pilgrim, I normally have a little bit of a hard time getting white mana versus black mana, so I can run the other elf that makes a black mana, pings me for a damage. Forgot his name. One of the things I can trade out for like Garuk if I wanted to was Nissa Vital Force, 5 mana, 5 loyalty, untap target land you control until the next turn. It becomes a 5/5 with haste, still a land. The -3 is return target permanent card from your graveyard. -3, return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. So I could use that as another way to like recur things out of my graveyard, but I think I already have like some 17 ways to get things out of my graveyard. Already a bit too reliant on the graveyard. I want more things to just do things in play without any graveyard necessity whatsoever. I don't want anyone to have that gun to my head holding over the graveyard, just looming, waiting for me to target something so they can exile it. So again, more things in play, just different bends. These are our lands. We have 34 lands in this deck. One of the worst parts is we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that kind of rely on other things to make mana, or they're colorless mana only. And in a 3-color deck, it's kind of hard to balance 7 lands of our 34, which pulls us down to like 28 that actually make mana, and then they have to be the right color. So again, hard split. Sometimes it messes with me. Oh, almost said a bad word. But again, I get to rely on other things that help me out a lot for mana fixing, such as our 3, 6, 7 fetches, our 3, 6, 7 dual lands that are fetchable with that, our 5 basics. Gotta have a couple of basics because of Path to Exile, Assassin's Trophy, other things that say destroy a thing, kill a thing, go for a basic land, Ghost Quarter, of course. So you gotta have a couple of basics at least. So again, 7 fetches, 7 duels. Normally my first turn, if I have nothing to play, I'm going to be going for my Indatha Triumph, comes to play tapped. Again, very few tapped lands. We got 1, 2, 3. He makes no mana at all. Very useful though. Here we go, Gaia's Cradle. Again, $1 million. No one should pay that for them. Pay $2, get a proxy, talk to your friends about it. Again, have fun, but don't break the bank. Don't pull out loans for stupid cardboard. Vault of the Archangel, creature you control gain Death Touch and Lifelink. Death Touch is phenomenal. I often reveal this and go, my creatures all have Death Touch if I want it, and then it kind of turns off their attacking you and lets you at least get a turn or two before they can get that land out of the way. Because you can trade your 1/1s for any of their BS. Like, it works really, really well. Phyrexian Tower, kind of a necessity. You have small dudes, they help you ramp. Second for 2 black mana, useful. Dryad Arbor, I went over that already. Being able to tutor for it early in the game, or just be able to play it and then mutate onto it later in the game off of like, let's say Ram and Tap. Or if I draw my Crop Rotate and I have no other creatures in play, I can Crop Rotate, sack a stupid land, go get my Dryad Arbor, and then mutate on top of that with my my Nethroi, and get my power out of the graveyard. And again, lots of those little engines and like idiosyncrasies that are in the deck. Bojuka Bog, I'm the only one that gets a graveyard, remember that. 2 lands that kill other lands, and again, multiple ways to tutor those out. Ways to get my lands out of the graveyard, again, we have Sun Titan, Fine Broker, Eternal Witness, and Ramentap. Ramanap, no T. Night of the Reliquary and Crop Rotation, again, are just tutors, and they put things into the graveyard so I can then get them out later. We went over the 2020s and the 2/2 Black Zombie tokens already, and again, we only have 2 doubles in the entire deck, so we're going to be hitting that Field of the Dead if we have 7 lands in play. Other good things to have, we got 2 lands that sacrifice to let us draw cards, which are good. Again, if you have a way to recur them off of Ramanap, you get to sacrifice, draw a card, and come back the next turn. You get multiple land drops. You get to use your Sunday Boy to bring them back. If you have additional land drops, it works really well. And this is the mana base. It's pretty well rounded. Again, we have our black-green, black-white, green-white. So again, This is pretty much 1 for 1 on the entire thing. 3, 3, all 3. You gotta have some all-colored mana. It is what it is. Pretty cut and dry. 34 is a bit lean, but again, our mana cost, our average of the deck is like 2/5, 2/7. If you're going to be over 3 mana for your casting cost average, I'd recommend 35, 36 lands. Or have, again, more 1 and 2 mana ramp or rocks or, rampant growth based effects. Cultivates, sure, always. Anyway, that's that. In this kind of a deck, knowing what your opponents are playing will help greatly in the game. You know what removal to pick, what removal to find, removal to hold on to. You can't really go all in, but you can easily get blown out. I mean, no deck is perfect. You really got to know what your opponents are playing. This deck at least has options in every realm, in every card type, to really give you an answer to kill something or remove something that's in your way. I watched a whole bunch of deck techs of other people doing these lists with Nethroi and other junk things. I saved the links to a playlist on YouTube. I got the link down below, so go ahead and watch that. Those guys are phenomenal. I didn't use any of their lists for ideas. I just wanted to see what everybody else was doing, to see how close I was to them, if it was worth even doing a deck tech. I got a ton of other decks. I'm going to be putting those out shortly. Again, I'm going to do Budget Marin and Gaddock Teague, probably coming up soon. I already have all those cards for that deck. I've been playing them for a while. So I'll be putting those out soon. Week, 2 weeks. Any ideas, questions, concerns, comments, put them places.